Are you ready?
Are you ready?
For a podcast hosted by George T.
Who the hell are you?
I am the movie geek.
Who are you?
I am the movie geek.
You are such a geek.
Thank you.
And now, on with the show.
It's time!
It's showtime.
It's showtime. Here we go.
And welcome back to another edition of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and we've got more news and some really good news, actually, and the weekend box office. And I've got a list of top 5 sports movies in each genre because we've had such a tremendous weekend last weekend and then this weekend with sports. I'm a huge college basketball fan. My son and I are big wrestling fans. So the national championship for both men and women were last weekend, and WrestleMania, which is the big Super Bowl for wrestling. Although we are AEW fans more than WWE nowadays, WWE put on a very good WrestleMania. So life has been a little chaotic with trying to get to see movies and working like crazy, but I will be having the next 3 months off when we get into May. So I'm going to be giving a lot of different content for you guys. I also have some things that are cooking, and I will drop that little secret at the end of this podcast. But let's not get any further away from what is going to be trending for upcoming movies. Seeing as I have not done a box office review in a few weeks, again, just a lot of things going on, haven't been able to get to this. But last weekend's results were Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, with its second straight week at number 1. It made $31.2 million. Debuting in number 2, Monkey Man, which my son and I would like to go and see, so we'll probably go see that soon, made $10.1. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was number 3. It was previously number 2, made $9 million. The First Omen opened this weekend, 8.3. That is the prequel to the original Omen movie. And rounding out the top 5 was Kung Fu Panda 4, made 7.7. Dune just finished outside the top 5 for the first time in a while. It was actually number 3 going into this past weekend. And then opening this weekend, Civil War. And I mentioned this on a previous podcast. It was one of my top 25 I was looking forward to. My son and I will definitely see it this weekend, so I will have a review for next weekend. Civil War looks amazing, and I cannot wait to actually see this. A few things just dropped the last couple of days. First off, for my son, who loved Five Nights at Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is going to be coming out and released in fall of 2025. It will also be released, probably streaming on Peacock, just like it was on this original drop. So there is encouraging news for that movie. Obviously, it was teased at the end of the first one. And for you James Bond fans, another franchise that probably doesn't need to really keep going. We'll go through a whole podcast about that later on. But James Bond, the new one, looks like it's going to be Henry Cavill. And fans have been wanting this for a while. Daniel Craig was actually a very good one. Daniel does not want to do them anymore. Henry Cavill has been the fans' choice to continue the James Bond series. So it looks like that is confirmed, considering I just saw it this morning before I was going to start this podcast. Also, I just finished the Rick and Michonne Walking Dead series. I will do a review of that next week when I review Civil War. And speaking of The Walking Dead, there are 2 new shows coming out. So Daryl Dixon has a second, or season 2. It's going to be with Carol this summer. So I will definitely be previewing that as when more information drops. Only saw a teaser trailer for it at the finale of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. And then also Dead City Season 2 will be filming soon. There is some talk that Negan and Rick will actually meet up again in this show. Again, not a whole lot has been known of that. All I know is that it's being filmed here in Massachusetts soon. So I am definitely looking forward to getting some plot points for you guys as the weeks go on. Now into some news that I really can't explain or believe I'm going to read this. But so we've got some movies that are going to be coming out soon. One, Margot Robbie is making a Monopoly movie. Don't ask me why this is, even going to be made. I mean, how does one make a Monopoly movie? Hasbro and Lionsgate are behind this. This news dropped Wednesday at CinemaCon conference in Las Vegas. Again, I'm not even sure where this is going to go. It looks like there is a call for now doing board games or just random movies about cultural things. Like Barbie was one, and now Monopoly. I don't know, but Margot Robbie's in it, so maybe it'll be interesting. I don't know. We'll have to get more information on this in the weeks and months to come. Then, the Blair Witch Project seems to be getting a reboot. Lionsgate is developing a new one with studio behind The Purge and Megan. It will be the first of a multi-year pact between Jason Blum's company and Lionsgate. I'm not even sure where to start with this. Blair Witch Project was absolutely horrible. I know it was a phenomenon because of the low budget and low quality, and it got such rave reviews from critics about 3 college kids that just go into the woods looking for, the Blair Witch. And I don't know where people got the idea that it was any good. And it started the whole genre of found footage movies. Some of these movies I cannot stand. And I know some of you know that I'm a ghost hunter, and found footage is what we deal with as far as trying to give evidence. But in a movie setting, I just can't see how this works. I have not seen a good found footage movie. It's just my preference. I mean, if you watched Blair Witch and you actually like it, fine. But I'm going to tell you, I watched this movie, and the characters aren't that interesting. I was actually hoping they would die earlier so the movie would end. I don't know. It was just not my cup of tea. So for them to want to reboot this, I don't know. I mean, they even made the money grab second one, The Book of Shadows, and that bombed. So again, is Hollywood just running out of things? Or they're trying to reboot franchises that should not have ever been franchises? And I know we're going to talk about this in Marvel, but Fantastic Four, I know we've got, an all-star cast doing this particular version of Fantastic Four whenever that drops for Marvel. But they had 3 movies, not very good. I don't know. Just Hollywood is running out of ideas, and it's annoying. Oh, and then there is this. There is now a Pooh universe. And what I mean by that is not only is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey getting a sequel, but now there is a whole genre starting to be created. So we've got a trailer, and I've seen this, and this is just absolutely horrifyingly awful. But Bambi the Reckoning, I mean, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing Twisted Childhood universe? Like, if your childhood had these characters, you were happy. Now we've got this twisted obsession with this. I mean, not only has Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey gotten a sequel, there's going to be Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, the Pinocchio Unstrung. I mean, it's out of control. It's out of control. And unfortunately, people are going to go watch these films. I mean, I don't know. I should probably do a whole sequence of podcasts on just genres. I don't know. I'm lost here. Why this is all of a sudden become a big thing, but I will say it is creative. It is outside of Hollywood being all about rebooting and everything else. It's out there, and again, I just don't know. But again, it just sounds like guys who probably worked for the Sci-Fi Channel, who did many of those horrific sci-fi movies. You know what? I think maybe I will do a podcast about all of Sci-Fi's worst movies that they put out and produced. You know what? That's a good one. I'm going to drop one of those. Trust me when I tell you that. And one more piece of news. Guy Ritchie's new film will star Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal in January of next year. It is called In the Gray. Not much is known about this except for the two headliners for this film. And I'm already excited when it said Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie is a really good director. And then you put Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal in the same movie. Sign me up. I mean, sign me up. And again, we'll get some more information on that in the weeks and months to come. All right. So I actually do have a review. And this one is about the new Roadhouse movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'm a Jake Gyllenhaal fan. A really big Jake Gyllenhaal fan, and his sister Maggie. And I'm going to tell you, so the movie Roadhouse was originally made back in the 80s with Patrick Swayze, and it was a really good movie. This one, however, takes on the moniker of the Roadhouse, and it's not very good. It's not very good. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, like I've said it over and over again. But this movie was terrible. Where do we even begin? So, Jake Gyllenhaal plays an ex-UFC fighter who winds up in this little small town and winds up becoming a bouncer for this bar. This town, I must say, has the most, how do I want to put this? Crazy bunch of people that literally just go around town trying to beat up people. Like, I don't know, the whole thing for me got turned off right away when you're in the bar for the first time and people are just literally fighting and destroying property. And I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason for this. Like, so already I was already turned off. So then, Jake Gyllenhaal's character needs some money for work, and, he's trying to, become a better person, and so he becomes the bouncer there, and he does his job well, trains some other people. So the whole premise of this movie, and the reason why so-called there's so much violence going on, is because this one bar is a holdout for a monopolizing drug dealer who wants to renovate the place and put in a new, I forgot what it is already, because again, I just kind of I got lost in the whole thing. So the bad guy sends in these bikers and tries to destroy the place over and over and over again, and Jake Gyllenhaal stops him. So then he tries to stop Jake Gyllenhaal's character. He can't. So the boss's father decides to send in a professional hitman. And lo and behold, it's Conor McGregor. Conor is over the top insane in this movie. And he is a badass. He is a badass in the UFC. He's a badass in this movie. So that worked for me. And I know his character is so outrageous, but it was one of those things where it worked. The rest of the film just doesn't work. And Jake Gyllenhaal, looked for the ladies. I mean, again, he is eye candy. He and Connor have a few fight scenes, and you're just like, man. And some of the fight scenes just were outrageous. Like, Conor McGregor is just pounding on Jake Gyllenhaal, and nothing. Like, he just bloodies. Most guys would have been knocked unconscious by the amount of hits that he took to the head. Again, this movie for me it wasn't very good, and I'm not recommending this at all. I will give it a thumbs down, not 2, because again, there's some good things in it. Definitely 1 thumb down. I don't recommend this movie as much as I do like Jake Gyllenhaal. Definitely not on my Jake Gyllenhaal top 10, top 20. I mean, it's just not good. And again, using the Roadhouse name kind of diminishes the aura of it in itself, because if you were looking for a truly reboot of the movie, there should have been a different plot or a better plot to go with. All right, circling back to all the sports that happened this weekend. We're, with the wrestling and the basketball, and then we've got the Masters starting this weekend. It's just a great time. Oh, and that's right, Major League Baseball opened this past week as well. If you're a Red Sox fan, it's going to be a tough season. Just saying. So I compiled a list of top 5 movies in every category for sports. We're going to start with, and because the UFL also started this past weekend, we're going to start with best football movies for me. Top 5. Number 5, Any Given Sunday. Willie Beeman, Jamie Foxx as Willie Beeman and Al Pacino as the coach. I mean, very good movie. A little dark at times, but it was a very good movie. Remember the Titans, a true story, starring Denzel Washington. Amazing film, must watch. We Are Marshall, another true story about the tragedy at Marshall with the plane crash. Matthew McConaughey as the coach of the Marshall team. An amazing movie, must watch. And how can we forget Waterboy? Number 2, Adam Sandler. This movie was a laugh fest from start to go. And then number 1, Rudy. True story. I got to meet Sean Austin. I got to talk to him about this movie. He definitely was impressed with me wanting to talk about it because everybody was talking about the Goonies and everything else. But Rudy, for me, obviously Goonies was great, but Rudy was just such a powerful movie. And, Rudy is definitely my number 1. I mean, there's other ones out there. Invincible was good with Mark Wahlberg, but those 5 movies would be my choices. Speaking of basketball from the college, we're going to go over my top 5 for basketball. Number 5, White Man Can't Jump. Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. This movie is so funny, and it's very good. Definitely a watch. He Got Game with Denzel Washington and Ray Allen. Another really good, powerful film. Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson as the head coach. Another powerful film. This was also a true story. Glory Road was another true story. Very, very good movie. And my number 1 is Hoosiers. By far, if you had to ask one movie, Hoosiers would be my number 1 in a lot of sports, or it would be in my top 5 if you ranked sports movies in general. In a generalization, Hoosiers number 1 by far. Gene Hackman plays the head coach of this small little Indiana basketball team. Indiana basketball is life. I was a coach for many years on the AAU circuit. Believe me, when you faced Indiana teams, Indiana is the hotbed for basketball. It is the mecca of basketball. Those kids are always at their peak levels. Best baseball movies. Number 5 is 61. That is the movie about Roger Maris's home run chase to break the single season record. A League of Their Own, the true story about the Women's Baseball League. Number 3, Bull Durham, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers because this is one of those movies that is always on the top of everyone's sports movie list, or if you were to rank baseball movies in general, Bull Durham is usually number 1. Kevin Costner is in this movie. It is a great movie, but for me, number 3. Major League is number 2. This movie is nonstop laughs. I mean, a bunch of amazing actors. Charlie Sheen, Corbin Burnson, Bob Uecker makes the entire movie, though. He makes the movie as the play-by-play announcer for the Cleveland Indians. He was a play-by-play man for the Brewers. He was also Mr. Baseball back in the day. He's kind of a punchline, though, about that because he was just a journeyman baseball player, but he became such an icon to baseball when he moved into the booth. Number 1, Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams. And again, a lot of people will say, well, Field of Dreams should probably be behind Bull Durham. True story, Kevin Costner. It is such a good movie. So Major League, Field of Dreams, Bull Durham could be in 1, 2, 3 in any order you can go with. But for me, Field of Dreams, number 1, Bull Durham 2, Major League 3. And again, you don't have to agree. The hockey season is just about over, so hard to pick 5 here. So I only got 4 out of this list, but of course, The Mighty Ducks would be number 4. Mystery Alaska is number 3. Then you've got Miracle. This was about the U.S. team in the Olympics that beat the Russians for the first time for the gold medal. And then Slapshot. Slapshot. I mean, do I have to say any more? Again, this is another one of those that would be in everybody's sports top 5. It is just a slapstick type of comedy, and it's a definite must-watch. Now, going back to WrestleMania and stuff, so we've got our best wrestling movies. Now, I was only able to find 4 in this list, so we'll start with Vision Quest. This has nothing to do with professional sport wrestling, but it was about Olympic wrestling, and it was a very good movie with Matthew Modine. Definitely watch. Beyond the Mat was a documentary. It is an amazing documentary. You must see it if you are a wrestling fan. If you have not seen it, that's one I would go with. Fighting with My Family is the Paige story. It is a true story. It was produced by The Rock. Paige now is Saraya over in AEW, but it is definitely a must-watch. Florence Pugh plays Paige in this movie. She did an amazing job with it. Paige was one of my favorites. Now she's Saraya, her real name, in AEW, but we haven't seen much of her lately. And then finally, The Wrestler. It's not a true story by any chance, but it tackles the world of professional wrestling. Mickey Rourke plays the wrestler in this movie, and he does an absolutely marvelous job. Now, if I were to have a 5, it would be Iron Claw when I see it, probably, because other than that, there isn't really much out there. And I know some people may come at me and say, well, what about Ready to Rumble? No. It was a WCW movie about WCW starring David Arquette. And what is weird is David Arquette wound up winning the World Championship on WCW programming. That is a no for me. I'm sorry. Just how do you do that? And that's why WCW no longer exists. And finally, because it's Masters weekend, we are going to do the top 5 golf movies Starting with number 5, Bobby Jones, Stroke of Genius. Now, it's an ambitious film about Bobby Jones's life. Bobby Jones was an amazing golfer back in the day. He is what is compared, a lot of times, they talk about Bobby Jones, they talk about Jack Nicklaus, and, others. But Bobby Jones was an amazing golfer, and it's definitely worth a watch. Legend of Bagger Vance with Matt Damon, Charlize Theron, and Will Smith as Bagger Vance. So this movie is very good. It's very powerful. It's told from the perspective of a young boy or an older guy who reminisces about the old days. Bobby Jones, a person played Bobby Jones in this character, Walter Hagen, and the local boy played by Matt Damon had to play in a golf tournament against these pros. It is a very good movie. Definitely a check. Number 3, Tin Cup. Kevin Costner again, a driving range pro. Next, trying to get on the pro tour, but he had mental issues, so he became a driving range pro. And he winds up getting a chance to qualify for the U.S. Open. And he winds up doing that. And, it's his journey to the U.S. Open. It is funny. It's got Cheech Marin in it as his caddy. Rene Russo is his psychologist / love interest in this movie. Don Johnson is his arch enemy who's been on the golf tour for a while. So it's a very, very good movie. Definitely check that out. Number 2, Happy Gilmore. I mean, who hasn't tried to do the Happy Gilmore swing? Also, quick side note, Happy Gilmore 2 is been in the works for about 25 years now, and we may soon see that it's in production. Yep, I'm telling you, Adam Sandler has put it out there after Christopher McDonald had put it out there on the Drew Barrymore show that there is a possibility for Happy Gilmore 2. I would love to see it. Though part of me says, well, it's been years. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. And number 1 would be Caddyshack. How could it not be? Caddyshack and Happy Gilmore are 2 movies. If you are a golfer, you quote these movies on a constant basis. Caddyshack is one of those. Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Bill Murray, just an incredible cast right there. And then you add the whole comedy mix. And Rodney Dangerfield just is hilarious in this movie the whole time. Definitely, again, one of those whole movies that you'd say is in a top 5. So like Caddyshack, Bull Durham, Hoosiers, Rudy, Slapshot. Those are movies that would be in most sports fans' top 10, top 5, whatever. So Caddyshack is number 1. And there you have it, folks. It's another edition of the Movie Geek Podcast. Next week, we will have reviews of the Walking Dead series that just ended. We will also have Civil War and possibly some more movies as well. There's a few movies that I want to check out and have started watching, but I haven't finished them yet. So just tune in for that. Oh, and by the way, once we get into May, there will be more stuff, more content coming out, and there may be some guests coming. Yes, Comic-Con season is coming up. I have been in talks with some people already, and I am hoping that I can share some information soon with you and get some guests on. So, with that being said, thank you very much for listening. Subscribe, like, whatever it is that you guys do when you listen to this, or whatever. I'm still learning this after, I think, 12 podcasts now. So again, thank you very much, and we will see you at the movies.
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.